Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!
Hal Cruttenden is one of my favourite comics today, and although we've only worked together once on a corporate gig, he is genuinely such a nice guy. And we sat backstage for about 4 hours talking about our children and comedy likes. We had a fab audience that night too. Hal is not only a very popular TV comic, but a great writer, and talks about his radio show Hal, live at the Apollo, and royal variety performances, meeting the Queen, and generally hanging out with Spiderman and his dad. We talk about giving blood and plasma. Well, he does. We talk about car park gigs and watching comedy, but in the next hour you'll hear a masterclass in comedy from one of the best on the circuit. Chortle says he had the crowd roaring. For while Cruttenden is a decidedly middle-class act, he's also simply a class act. And for his Edinburgh Festival show, Straight Outta Cruttenden, completely at ease and unruffled on stage, despite some of those predicted toilet interruptions, endearing with his theatrical flourishes but relatable for voicing the middle classes, most niggling insincerities, Cruttenden seems like just the right cheery, mainstream act to parachute into the middle of a fading festival. Enjoy as I show my eyes and teeth to Hal Cruttenden. Eyes and teeth. We kick off talking about Hal's Instagram account.
I had a Hal Cruttenden who took Hal Cruttenden, so I'm H Cruttenden on Instagram, and can't get a blue tick because I think this Hal Cruttenden, somebody set up an account with my name on, and now they sort of go, no, I've just tried, and they went, no, you've been turned down for it. I go, I really want a blue tick because then that'll help me get more followers.
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
So I'm not famous enough for Instagram.
Well, it won't be. I don't know how long does it take for you to get famous. Your face is just out there, isn't it? Every possible. When I do the introduction, I can't possibly list every comedy show that you've been on. It's easier to note the ones you've not been on, which is not many. Yeah. Everyone knows your face.
That's true. I am one of those. Do you know what my I'm so indulgent. So if you ask me questions, I will go about. It's exactly the same with my sister. My sister has done a lot of comedy on TV. She's on Not Going Out, Benidorm. She's been an actor for, well, over 30 years. She's been on TV things. She's been in movies. She's bits and bobs. And she has a face that people know and go, oh, I know you.
Yeah.
And I have exactly the same level of fame. It's like a household fame. It's like, I walk down the street and often people go, Hal Cruttenden. And I go, I love you. You know my name.
You got your name and your face right. Yeah.
But my sister and I, literally, we can be together. People go, oh, how do I know you two? How do I know you? Oh, it's for different things. It's a good level of fame to have, actually, because it's not the horrific, you can get slaughtered in the media, massive fame, but it's just enough to
comfortable, yeah.
Comfortable. It's sell tours because I would never do a tour poster that doesn't have my face on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know him. So often people do know my face, my name as well, obviously, but it's just that thing of going. I know some people. Big, massive fame is when you don't have to have a picture of your face on your tour poster.
Yeah, just the name. Yeah.
Yeah, they go, oh my God, it's that. But yeah, so.
Yeah, do you ever do that thing like you're at the Edinburgh Festival and you're standing next to your poster, and then you're pointing to your face, the poster, your face? Yes.
Exactly.
It must be a double.
Did you used to do Edinburgh?
I've never done it. No, I've been up there twice, and I just love the atmosphere. And I've just written a show actually, which is just based around one of my ventriloquist characters called Arthur Lager, and it's based. I'd love to take that to Edinburgh because it's a theatre piece.
Yeah. But you've got the nice view of Edinburgh. You see, you've done the visit. When you visit and see shows, it's like my daughter's. Well, my wife hardly ever comes to Edinburgh when I'm there because she thinks I'm really stressy and a nightmare when I do Edinburgh. And she's probably
really?
Right. Her memories are from like 15 years ago when I was going, no one's coming, I've got 5 people in, and and being very moody and running around doing stuff all the time. Whereas actually I'm much more relaxed now at Edinburgh. But I think it's a wonderful place to visit. I think it's a nightmare to be there for a month. When I do a new show there, I don't mind going back after a year. If I do it as part of a tour, I go back and do 10 days of an old show, little visit and then go. Brilliant. But I find the month long in Edinburgh, there's a time you kick in. I mean, just be prepared for it. It's well worth
It takes
doing.
a few weeks, doesn't it? I mean, to
Yeah.
build up your reputation with your show, as well as getting the reviewers in. And then, I mean, you need to get the reviewers in, because I was talking about doing it for 2 weeks, and my Nina said, and a couple of my friends that have done it, they said, you need those first 2 weeks to actually get the reputation and the reviews, and then you need to put the stars, if you get any, on your poster for more people to come in for the last 2 weeks.
Exactly. The thing is, you've had a sort of, really a good career without Edinburgh, so maybe you can approach it in that relaxed way of going, I'm not going to take it too seriously, I'll work really hard, throw myself at it, but I can't help but there's that sniff of desperation in Edinburgh, which reminds me of the time when I was like, this will be the year when I'm going to break it and it's all going to be great, and actually that painful memory is what slightly sullies Edinburgh for me. I'll do it always, but it always reminds me of that time.
It's that pressure at the beginning, isn't it? Of will they turn up?
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago when you're going... And I actually didn't do it that much, but I still remember I had a great year, 2002, but I still think of it with massive pain of just going, it's just so stressful. And
It's hard work.
I got nominated for an award, I got lots of... But it's just that thing of sort of it ends, and you get some things from it. It was always helpful, but... It's just a month of desperation. You can smell it in the air, and I find doing it still quite sad. It's really like, I need to do it, but I still have that sense of going. It's sort of lots of very excited people, lots of comments going, this is going to be the year, and going, about two of you will have a great thing come from Edinburgh.
Is it a nice place to test material out in, or is that a danger to test material out there?
Well, I find now I've got more leeway there, because I've got a bit more of a, and more of a natural audience. So yes, it is a place to try stuff, and if it works in Edinburgh, it works everywhere, because the thing people forget is it's probably the hardest place you'll do your show at.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest places, because you're doing it to audiences who, if you're on in the evening, they might have seen 3 or 4 shows already. They might be seeing a show afterwards. People are packing in so much that when a joke works there, it's working everywhere. Once you go on tour and you're going around the rest of the UK, it's lovely. It's easy. You're the only thing people are seeing that week, possibly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know why we're talking about this, by the way. This is a world that no longer exists.
I know, it's crazy.
It will come back, Steve.
You know when you talk about doing comedy clubs and it will always be there. I'll come back to it. A lot of my mates now were talking about cruise ships and pantomimes, and I'm one of those people where I think, yeah, I'll do my gigs, I'll do my theatre tours, and then I'll go out and do some holiday parks, Butlins and things, whatever will take me. But cruise ships and pantomimes will always be there. And obviously none of us would have thought that no venue would be there, which is what's happened now. And that's been the hardest thing. But for you, Hal, I've just watched it. Me and my wife were crying last night with laughter at your new special, which is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Which one is it? Is this the Straight Outta Cruttenden?
Straight Outta Cruttenden, yeah.
Oh, there's that one. There's also Chubster. Yeah, Chubster is my absolute latest. Straight Outta Cruttenden was the one I did about 3 years ago or something. So
okay, it's Chubster on Next Up, which is this brand new launch, isn't it?
Yeah, did I say Next? Did I say Netflix? Next Up? God.
Next Up? No, I think you said Next Up, yeah.
If you say Next Up quick enough, it sounds like you've got a Netflix special.
I know, which is good. It's good.
Yeah, but I'm not on Netflix. Well, apart from on those shows like Mock the Week or Lovely Apollo, wherever they repeat on there. But so it's Next Up, which is very good. Next Up, it's my Next Up special. So I've got 2 things on there: Straight Outta Cruttenden and Chubster. Yeah, those are great. Those are great places to see stand-up, because they've done. It's obviously an online thing that's trying to grow in comedy terms. It's taking on. I think the thing with DVDs and Netflix, that became so exclusive to just a certain number of comics, that Next Up took on quite a lot of comics. They've got quite a range. They've got some really new people to sort of old farts like me, and Ed Byrne, I think, is on Next Up as well.
Okay, brilliant.
You can watch a lot of stuff on there. So yes, no, I liked to. Yes, my Straight Outta Cruttenden. Yeah, that was a good show. That was a great show, actually. So that was one recorded, I think, at Leicester Square Theatre. So that was
that's a great theatre. That is. What was Angry But Not Sure Why? Was that just an Edinburgh show? Was that a tour, or was that
Angry But Not Sure Why? Was a CD that I did, didn't I? I recorded that a while ago, I think. So that's from a long time ago, 2008 or something. Yeah, so I've always been putting out things, occasionally, and I had a DVD, Tough Lovey, that came out. That was about 2014. So yeah, there's certain things that things that are out there for posterity to enjoy.
And I bought Tough Lovey. I mean, there was this thing about getting into HMV, wasn't it? I mean, if your DVD was on the shelf of HMV, that's good. and now it's Netflix or Next Up, which is this brand new genre of putting comedy out there. Oh, good luck with those. Brilliant.
I mean, some people still produce DVDs, but you've really got to be John Bishop, Sarah Millican to do the DVD, because it's sort of on Michael McIntyre. It's become so hard to sell, I think, because the online stuff took over. So, yeah. But no, it's great. I don't know how much stand-up you watch in general, but I find I didn't used to watch enough, and then during lockdown, I've sat down. I've recently watched like Jim Jeffries and Dave Chappelle, and you just go, I've got to remind myself to watch stand-up, because I do it, but yet so often you don't go back and watch some really great acts, and just seeing people that you haven't seen for ages. Like Jim Jeffries, I used to be on the circuit with.
Wow.
In the UK, now he's based now, and you still go, God, he's a great act. He's very, very shocking and out there, but
America love him, don't they?
Yeah, but also he really keeps the laugh count high. You watch so many stand-ups where you can be a bit, it's quite good, I've laughed a bit, that's interesting, and then you just get back to comics that just make you laugh regularly, and that's what I always wanted with stand-up. There are certain stand-ups that I think are great, and I certainly think have a market, and Edinburgh is very big on a lot of those people, but they're not actually that many laughs. It's often a bit of a story, a bit of a journey. It's quite theatrical.
Life stories.
I don't know if I'm like you, Steve, but I'm a bit old school in terms of I want the jokes coming regularly. With the points you're making. That's my rule, anyway.
I saw Billy Connolly when I was 16 at the Hammersmith Apollo, and then I saw him 3 years ago at the same venue, and and that's someone that can just keep them coming and banging them out, and you're just waiting for the next line because it's going to be a winner, Exactly. And you're like that. You're so fast paced with your comedy; it just comes out, and then I love the way you build a gag. You really drag somebody in with your routines. You've got, I'm trying to think of this thing that you've done on, you set up a poignant moment, and then you can feel the audience building up to applause, and then you undo it all by hitting them with a punchline. Like, for instance, the lady talking about how beautiful she is, and then she was bullied for being ugly, and then you saw a picture, and it's like, wow. And you think for a moment that Hal's going to have us in tears, and then you just like punch them with tears of laughter, and it's brilliant. I love the delivery that you set up.
Oh, thank you. I've certainly I've just talked to my agent about this. He's something that I'm doing. He said there is that thing of as I've got older, I've always had a bit of a nasty edge to me. As I've got older, I've definitely got nastier, but I've still got this smiley round face and soft voice, and it is very handy, because I think over the years I've had a lot of people go, he's like Michael McIntyre, he's just very mainstream, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I also feel like going, but that was never me at all. To be just sweet, nice Hal. I'd have loved to have been a game show host, and God, I did some run-throughs. But in terms of my stand-up and when I'm expressing myself, I always want to bring out the cynical side, because I think that's so much of my comedy is of being quite cynical, being quite nasty. I mean, if you watch Chubster, it's got a lot of. This is something that probably post-COVID I will be being much more careful with. But it's got an awful lot on death in my last show. We sound very dark, but there are punchlines coming regularly. But it's the way we talk, it's the way we are so careful around death, and it's one of my bugbears of going, let's talk about this, because we all know it's there, and it's all coming, and it's all affecting us, and it's all happened to everybody, and I do think the best comedy comes from the darkest stuff. I think, and I know this is obviously topics where people go, you can't talk about that. comedy should be about everything, and it should be about making jokes in a not in a way that's obviously just being offensive, but making jokes about the most serious things in life, because that's always the biggest laugh. Is about
definitely. I mean, you put your pop stars in the care homes, and I was crying last night watching that routine. You could just mention any pop star's name from then on, and it would be funny when you put them in that scenario. And it's such a great way of looking at things, and using the darkness, actually turning it around and putting a bit of light into it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I always find that when people if they get offended by comedy, they go, well, oh, that's affected me, so I'm offended by that. And I actually have this in the latest show, which is like, yeah, but that's the joke. Isn't typing at this, isn't this funny? Death or cancer or this terrible thing. No. It's about our attitude to it, or the way we talk about it, or the way we, and actually, if you were offended by that, why weren't you offended by the joke on terrorism? Just because it's not affected you?
Yeah.
And it's the hypocrisy of people being shocked by certain things. And you go, I'm sorry, this sounds like I'm really hard hitting and edgy, but it is something I've done. But I know I'm not. I do a lot of stuff on being a pathetic man and how my kids don't respect me and things like that. But or how my wife is horrible to me. All of which are massive exaggerations, because my wife hasn't yet left me, and my kids are actually, they do sweet things the whole time. But I do think people, particularly now, we live in an era where people go, oh, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And I think everything is up for grabs as long as you can defend it, and I can defend virtually everything. But go, yes, the joke there wasn't about, shouldn't we be laughing at this terrible thing? It's about the way human beings respond to the way they deal with some things. It's like, anyway, sorry, I'm going to a very dark area.
If people relate to what you're talking about, they suddenly think, oh, he's talking about me, he's making fun of me. And then if they've been affected by that, then no, it's completely true. But you do have to touch on every subject. I had to look up Shallow Hal to see if it was your movie, but you're not shallow. It's just what you say in the show. It's part of the comedy. So
no, exactly. No, I am exactly. I like to think I got it to death, but it's not. It's not about that, because it's actually just about what makes you happy as a performer, isn't it? I mean, I think there is. I look at someone like Milton Jones, Tim Vine, people who are just doing like
one-liners,
gags, and I so love what they do, and that's because they love, and I can't do it either. I think we all find the best way as a performer to live is just you do what you love doing, and I love those. I love just gag people. Those people that just do those. I love it. I think it's great, but also I know that doesn't. It suits me sometimes to do a little one-off of those, but not to have it the whole time. I'm much more of a sort of set-piece person that has sort of, bits and bobs. So I just think there's room for everybody. But I also think there's a way in which you have to do. I think that's why I love stand-up. I've got even more obsessed by it during lockdown.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just watching people do their thing and go, yeah, that's great that you do what makes you happy, and I can totally see that. But also, I literally, as I go through like the specials that I've done, or the the next up stuff, or the stuff I've done on DVD, I can see this progression into me becoming more and more me, and that's why I find stand-up's great. That's why I do hope that we do survive as an industry, and I can go on and be doing this when hopefully I live to 75. Also, because I have no proper pension plan. I'm not sure if that joke is in. That joke might be in. The one you've seen last night. I have no proper pension plan, but having said that, I'm in showbiz. I may well spend my 70s in jail.
I don't think that was on there. I watched quite a lot of you over the last few days, but it's not on that special, I don't think. But so we can keep it in. That was brilliant. No, but it's true though, isn't it? It's true. Sadly.
Well, no, it's true about the pension plan.
Not about you going to jail. No, not you. I mean, the trueness about you is that you always bring up that you look like Martin Roberts or Mr. Tumble.
Yes,
did you bring that up first, or did people just keep saying it till you had to put it in the show?
Oh, people kept saying it.
Oh, really?
It really wasn't me.
No.
I mean, particularly Martin Roberts is a funny one, because we also both grew a beard at the same time.
Oh, no.
and I was like, oh my God. And then I did the one time I did panto. in 2013, I did it with Mr. Tumble.
Well, that helps.
With just so with Justin Fletcher. So we did a panto thing where we put a spin on it that he was, oh God, who was I? I was Dandini and he was Buttons in Cinderella. And the joke was that we found out we were long lost brothers.
Oh, perfect.
He's a lovely. He is. Oh my! I mean, I don't know. I bet panto's great. I bet you do. Do you do panto every year, Steve?
No, I've done about 11 and scattered. I've actually taken variety shows over panto because I get to do more of my act, and I get to split my act up and hosting shows and things. I hosted a show in Thursford in Norfolk, which was like 1,400 seater, twice a day for 7 weeks.
And that was all over Christmas.
It was November the 5th until December the 23rd last year, and I've done it for 3 years.
So you stopped just before Christmas, and
yeah.
you're loaded.
Yeah. Oh, it was perfect, and I was the host of it. I was the only comedy on the show, so I'm like half hour, and then like 2 hours of the show is singing and dancing. It's incredible, but. That's. I mean, I'm not doing that this year. I'm just going to do a short stint in Clacton this year, hosting the show. But yeah, it's nice to host shows, isn't it? Actually, I worked with you on a show, and you were comparing this corporate gig that we did together.
Oh, where was that?
I can't recall who it was. Thought it was a corporate, and we were backstage for about 4 hours waiting to go on. Yeah,
was it in some sort of? It wasn't in a marquee thing, was it that?
It might have been in the marquee. I mean, they really looked after us with because when you do these corporates, you don't know if you're going to get a sandwich or a 3-course meal, and it's quite nice not knowing, isn't it? And then all this food turns up, so they really look after you. But
exactly.
No.
Exactly. Well, that's another thing, isn't it? With that part of our profession, which people. I've always had that when people say to me, but you still got TV and things. No, actually, the main part of my living certainly is corporates. When I'm not touring my own show, you are living off these corporate things where you're doing events. And I used to be very sniffy about them, and now I absolutely love them and miss them and treasure them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they've just disappeared. I think I've got something at a hotel in London in November that they're going, we're trying to do it socially distanced, and that might be my first, well, if it goes ahead, I don't
Your first
think
corporate,
it will,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a corporate thing where they've socially distanced this and they're trying to do it inside. But you go, well, if restaurants are still open at that time and pubs, then this may well go ahead. But the thing that you have that's great for corporates is it's the comedy, but also you've got a skill. You've got actual venture. You've got something for when the crowd, because I find they're the toughest gigs we do.
They're hard. They're hard, yeah.
Yeah, because people aren't there for comedy. You've been brought in to be a bit of entertainment on an evening do, and that's why they're the biggest risk, because often for a comic, you've got an audience that goes, I'm not interested, I don't like this guy, or whatever, and you can, well, not often, I find about once a year there's one that's really tough, but I find the great thing about what you've got is you've got a skill that goes, I am skillful, even if you're not laughing, you can still see that I've got a skill, I've got a talent at something.
Yeah, I could talk about moving my lips, but you've got the task of actually winning that audience over to begin with, and they are the hardest people to get on your side because you're not working in that company, but you have to make them believe that you love their company, and then take the piss out of them for the rest of the night, and that's. But they have to love you as well.
I must say, quite often though, I find that what's fascinating about corporate events is I have certain setups where I've gone, oh, this is going to be dreadful, and it's a dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen an event. I had to host. What did I have to do? I had to do stand-up and then host an event, and the layout was so awful, like massive dance floor. They're all over the place. This always makes me feel really sad, the memory of this, because this company went under. It was the Thomas Cook cabin crew,
wow.
and Thomas Cook went bust, and they were. And I still want to say again, the loveliest people I have ever done a corporate with. And maybe it's because they're cabin crew and they used to think having to deal with difficult people. But the whole setup, I would think the person who booked me was like, oh, hell, this could be a tough setup. And it was glorious. It was one of the most fantastic corporates I've done, just because the people there were so nice. And then when they went bust, I went, oh my God, that's the way life is. That is so unfair.
It's sad, isn't it?
The nicest people I've ever done a corporate for. I had another one a few years ago, just before the Olympics in 2012. I was doing an event for the Olympic swimming team. for the British team. And what happened was all the team were based outside London. So I think the Americans were in Manchester and the British team were in Edinburgh.
Right.
And so they're training and they're doing a camp, and it's a week before the Olympics. So they take them outside of London, and then they went in to do the Olympics. So all this, it's people like Rebecca Adlington and people, and all these swimmers who were fantastic.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, these kids, they're mainly 18, 19, 20. Are they really one of them? Are they going to go for me? Is it going to be okay? Oh, I thought I'll do lots of stuff with the trainers, and because all their trainers were Americans and Australians and stuff. I thought I'll do a lot of stuff with the trainers, and they'll probably be more into it because they'll be more my age group. The way it turned out was the swimmers were gorgeous, and the trainers just gave me daggers.
Oh no!
The swimming kids, they came up to the office. Rebecca Adlington said, "You just said stuff that we're too scared to say. It was fantastic." Because like the head of swimming, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but the head of swimming, I think he was an Aussie or an American, and he just looked like a baddie from Indiana Jones. He had the little glasses, and he looked and all these things, and it was so fantastic because I was, I'm doing this at 9 at night. None of them are obviously touching a drop of alcohol because they're all in training, and they're all super duper fit. And I just found that was just the most wonderful thing. So yeah, corporate is. I think corporate is a real adventure in comedy because you just have to find a way in, don't you?
It is, isn't it? And as your job, you have to relax them, and once they're comfortable with the host, then the whole night goes just swimmingly well. You gave me a lovely build up, by the way, and I had a good gig, but I put it down. I'd put it down to yourself because it is down to the host actually to make that audience relaxed. So thanks for that. It was great to work with you that night.
Well, it's that, but isn't that the whole thing of our job is to pretend, however worried you are, that you're not worried?
Oh, you can't show it. Yeah, you show it, and you're going to struggle. Yeah. And
well, I used to do the comedy. Well, actually, there seems to be the tryouts now at the Comedy Store in London are far more established by the time they're actually doing their tryouts. But I remember you could watch a show at the Comedy Store about 10, 15 years ago, and you could tell that they wouldn't say if somebody was a new act trying out until they'd finished because they didn't want to put them down. But I reckon you could tell by the way they walked to the mic.
Yes.
Because there's something about established comics who just know to walk on it to go, hey, it's all great.
Yeah, just grab that mic.
I don't care what you think. I'm going to say this anyway. Whereas new acts tend to walk on going, I just want to please you. I just want to please you and be your friend. And you can just smell it.
They do that thing where you move the mic stand to the back of the stage. And then when you're ready to go, you've done your hour, and then you move it forward, and we know that you're wrapping up. But for a comic that knows he's not going to be there, he keeps the mic stand in front of him. I'm going to do 2 minutes.
Ready to make a quick exit, exactly.
Ho, 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 ho.
Can you tell me about your radio series, Hal?
Well, my radio series, it's not on anymore. I had 2 series of that, but it's on BBC iPlayer, I think. Anyway, but that was brilliant. Actually, I'm actually in the process of writing a sitcom at the moment, as quite a lot of people are. But there's I want to hopefully get this made, but there is nothing, nothing definite about it. But yeah, no, my radio sitcom that was great. Actually, it was just based on me as a. It was sort of based on a slightly more pathetic version of me.
Was it you as a stand-up, or you as a father or husband?
It was much more me as a father.
Okay.
It was basically me as a father, unable to get back into work, with my kids growing up, and my wife very, very successful, and it was sort of that struggle of being the way people say, society says, and I'm sure I know plenty of people in this situation. Society says that of course men can be house husbands, and of course it's fine, and all the rest. But in practice, people are still quite snooty about it. I find there's still that. I've certainly had friends who go. I mean, I find that as a stand-up when when the kids were at primary school and you're picking them up, and people give you that look of going, why aren't you? If they don't know you, if they don't know what you do, they're going, why aren't you, the man is picking up the kids. We're still so old-fashioned. I still think people have to fight that sort of, that sort of snobbery. The future is. The future has to be, one day in the future, it will be 50-50 men and women in that playground, hopefully. It was sort
definitely.
of about that. It was sort of about, being a stay-at-home dad with two little kids, and I always had a producer who'd say, I used to write I wrote it with Dominic Holland, actually, the comic Dominic Holland.
Yeah, I worked with him once. I love Dominic's work. Brilliant.
Now known more famously as the dad of Tom Holland, who is Spiderman.
Isn't that sad? I mean, it's good in a way, but it's sad for him because he's an exquisite talent, Dominic, isn't he?
But Dominic, also, he adds to it because he's written books like Eclipse, which is all about how Tom's eclipsed his career. And I went, but Dominic, you are a great comic. I used to watch you on things in the 90s when he was on Clive James and stuff like that. And he still does stuff. He's a great comic in his own right. I said, you do yourself down too much. But what was very funny, we would be writing the second series of my radio show. We'd be in the open mic offices who produced it, the radio bit of open mic,
right,
which I think doesn't exist anymore. But we closed them down. No, but we wrote the second series there. We'd be sitting writing, and Dom would go, "Oh, hold on, it's Tom calling," and that's when Tom was filming the first Spider-Man movie. And I don't know how old Tom was, maybe 19 or 20 at that time.
Yeah.
And he's calling us in our little office in London, writing a radio series, that he's in a house in Atlanta with his friend, who he said, "Look, can I have a personal assistant?" They went, "Yeah, totally." So we get his mate over. They give him an Audi to drive around in Atlanta while filming his movie. He's about to become a major movie star.
Wow.
And his sad old dad and his mate are writing their radio series, and he'd be going, and Dominic would go, "Oh, Hal's here." He'd go, "Oh, hi, Hal," because I knew Tom when he was, when we first writing the series, and he was doing his GCSEs and stuff. A very, very nice kid, actually. If there's someone who can handle being as famous as he's now become, it is Tom Holland. He is a really down to earth, sweet kid. I think his dad's an arse, but he is a very, very sorted person. Because I think, God, if anybody at that young age to have that sort of fame, I think
it's mass fame.
But I think he's and what a talent. Do you know what? I don't usually watch Marvel films, but really good actor as well, Tom Holland.
He's great. My wife got me into Marvel last year, actually, so we just started to watch all of the Marvels, and I blame the lockdown for this. We've got through most of them now, but he's an incredible actor. He's brilliant.
He's a great. I was watching the Far From Home one, the second one, and there was him and Zendaya doing, who plays, the girl in it, and they were just in, and I went, these kids are so damn good. I sort of like Marvel. I don't know if you and your wife clash on what you watch during lockdown, but
I want to go for the comedy, but she got me into Benidorm, actually, funny enough, with Abigail. So we watched it from series 1. We're on season 7 now, tomorrow night. But yeah, so she got me to Marvel and Benidorm. I watch stuff that she wants to watch, and I make her watch the stuff I want to watch. So it's nice to share, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? Our attitude, we have this. I put a Twitter poll on Twitter recently about this, that during tough times like this time, like the time we're all going through, which I think is universally pretty much the worst thing that's happened in our life to our country and to the world, in terms of disrupting people's lives and things, is that my wife likes escapism and rom-com and stuff like that. I really like watching horror or disaster films, because I said I want to see people having a worse time than we are. Because our time,
that's
for most of us, this time is just economically, it's a nightmare for us, and we're stuck inside. We can't do it, especially during lockdown, and our life's been disrupted. It's not. I mean, obviously, unless you're personally affected by it, and people, I know somebody who's died of COVID and their family, which is horrific, obviously. But unless it's personally affected your family, it's not as. I'd rather watch. A movie that's about the end of the world and going, this isn't the end of the world. Yeah,
no, you want to cheer yourself up and making yourself feel better. So just put EastEnders on, or reruns of EastEnders at the moment. So
yes, I'm terrible.
We're fine.
Like that. I mean, have you seen the film Contagion?
We haven't watched it yet because we feel like we just put the news on and we can see it.
But this is because my wife won't watch Contagion. Okay, it's so like it's like this but worse. It's perfect for me to watch because it's talking about R numbers and the spread and but this is a disease which is killing many more people.
Right.
And so it makes you go, oh, it's not as bad. At least R1 is killing people, but not at the same rate. And it's not, so I'm terrible like that. I tend to go watch Contagion because it's sort of COVID times 20. So it's,
Yeah, I mean, it'll cheer us up. I mean, I might try and get her to watch that. She won't do horror, but I'll try and get her to watch that Contagion one.
Ooh, Hal Cruttenden!
You write for the Times, don't you? So when I saw you on live at the referendum 2014, and you wrote some great material for that show.
Yeah.
How much have you written for COVID and COVID-related material, or have you, or have you not?
I thought not that much, and then I went and did a gig, and the reviewer said, when I closed it, when Hal Cruttenden really went for the elephant in the room, because everybody else tended to avoid it, whereas I ploughed straight into it, because again, I got it. Have you had COVID? Have you had it?
No, I saw on one of your blogs that you said you'd had it, and you had this plasma test that you had, and blood giving, and
I've been doing plasma donation, but now, well, sadly, I did a couple of them, but then they're trying to get more people to do it, and I can't do it anymore because you have antibodies from COVID, but they do fall, which means that they don't think it, because I think they start, your T cells. There's other things that protect you still. So there's no proof that means you're definitely going to get it again, and there's no protection. It's just that my antibodies after the last plasma donation I did fell to a level where they're not useful in the
for fighting the virus. You mean, or wow.
So they're doing trials to see if it helps people who have the virus. And they think it's helping. So it's definitely worth doing. But I did only a couple of times. I did it, and the second time they said, you were okay first time. Your antibodies were useful. Now your antibodies aren't useful. But then it's still nice to give plasma because they still need it for other stuff anyway. So
you were right to be scared. I mean, we were watching you. Me and my wife Nina were terrified when you were doing your blogs on it. But good on you for doing it.
I made a big fuss. I must admit, because I've always had a thing about needles and blood. And things being drained out of me. I hate doing blood tests and all that sort of stuff. And I was seriously in a massive state for 2 days. I went along to, when I first donated, because blood donation for me was like out of the question. Got massive phobia, not going to deal with it. And it was so easy. It was so straightforward. You did go, if you can just get your head past it and go, stick your arm out, look away, it's not painful. It's not going to hurt you. You're in such a safe environment. As long as you look away and don't think about... Obviously, even think about it, it's so safe. Your body can handle it.
Could you think about the moment of like Tony Hancock and the donor? That's a great episode. I'm going to get tea and biscuits.
Yeah. But I must say, I'm going to donate blood from now on because it keeps me, even though I remain not very happy about needles. Because basically, when it comes to, if you get ill and you end up having to have, I don't know, things like chemotherapy or something, you're going to have those needles, and you're going to have things attached to you when you get ill in life, and you're going to deal with it then. So why not deal with it to help other people? It's actually it's terrible because you're mainly doing it to help other people, but also that doesn't make you feel better about yourself when you feel a bit useless.
That was a lovely thing to do.
Ice and tea.
But you're a great writer, Hal. But you've written for other comedians as well, like Omid Djalili, Rob Brydon. I was in a talent competition with Omid, but he was called the short, fat kebab owner's son. Did you work with him when he did that?
Oh, you're older than you look, Steve.
I know. It was 1996, and we were in this talent show. There was a comedian called Paul Eastwood, Omid, and myself, and a singing duo won it actually. And I think
see, you are proof that if you can just keep in shape and keep your weight down, you can still look young.
I've not kept my weight down. You've not seen me recently, but I've enjoyed food. I'm the chef. I'm the chef.
No.
I'm not doing. My puppet's not started. The dummies are not doing fat jokes on me yet, but I could turn it around on myself. And, there's a couple that your hand feels tighter. There's a new one.
I do. The funny thing about writing for other comedians, which I haven't done so much recently. It was more sort of a few years ago. But I remember sitting. Actually, that was when I first started writing with Dominic Holland. We used to write for Rob Brydon for his TV show that he did a while ago.
Right.
And the funny thing is that you would. If you're sitting in the room with the person you're writing for, it's very funny because you end up doing jokes to them in their accent.
Oh, right.
Well, like this one, oh, I know what. You just little Welsh accent.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I was with an agent that actually was Bruce Forsyth's agent, and Bruce Forsyth wanted some writing. It was only a one-time thing, but he wanted something written for him. And I found myself sitting there trying to write stuff for Bruce Forsyth, going, right, so, okay, you
stick the chin out.
A terrible impression of them as you're writing. It's really funny, but people that really specialise in writing for other comedians, I wonder if they do the same. Maybe it's just I'm sort of very performance-led, but I'd always have to picture them doing it, because I've had that when I've done TV things and I've written with people, or I've had people write for me.
Yeah.
The best jokes usually come from you, because they're the ones that you organically can say. Obviously, people come out with great writers like Gary Delaney who can write great stuff for other people, and you'll use it totally. But the stuff that sticks in your mind most easily when you're on the show is the stuff that you've created, because it completely fits your persona, who you are, and that's why it's hard to write for other people. You've got to be I think the really good writers are just great gag men. Do you know what I mean? I do it a bit. I've been good at it in the past. I probably should try and do it again. Actually, it might make me better. Sorry, you're reminding me of stuff.
No, what you're doing is incredible. I love your stand-up, and I'm going to see Eddie Izzard tonight. He's doing a show on the roof at Bexhill, and so we got tickets last minute. Just booked him a few days ago, and so we're looking forward to that. It's date night, So he's social distancing. There's only about 90 people sat there.
But have you met Eddie Izzard? Do you know?
Briefly. He doesn't know me. I've just said hello.
No, but you know what? He is a lovely man. He was in the 90s. He was one of the sort of reasons I got into stand-up, because I thought, if a camp middle class, man like him can go on stage and go, I don't care what you think of me, I'm going to, I just be who he was.
Yeah.
Then stand up should, because I always thought stand up was sort of a lad's game. I always thought it was a bit of a laddie.
Sure.
Kind of,
yeah.
And I thought Eddie Izzard really inspired me. Anyway, I've met him about 4 times since then, and every time when I meet him again, he forgets who I am. But I always think that's when you meet your heroes, the one comic you go, oh, please love me. And he is lovely, but he always goes, oh, have we met? Oh, yes, we have. We met, and we spent 2 hours chatting. He's got a terrible memory. But I'm exactly the same. I've got a sort of face blindness, so I often...
I think that's when I told you we worked together, and you had no idea. Because but I mean, we work with so many people, that's... You can't put 2 and 2 together, and it's like when you're put on the spot, it's embarrassing there. But you can understand.
I remember we had worked together.
Just where it was, yeah.
And that's why you'll find this in Edinburgh. When you do Edinburgh, it's so many times, especially because that's people in the industry who are, you've got promoters and you've got your flyers and all the organisation around, and you've got PR people and people who are working for your PR people, and they come up to you and go, hi, Hal, and you go, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
I've got my wife, and my wife knows, these are the few times she comes to Edinburgh, all my daughters, they will know that if I don't introduce them, I've forgotten who the person is.
Oh, I know. And Nina, my wife's embarrassed. She always nudges me, and I'm like giving her the look to say, I don't know the name, I can't introduce you. So I say to her, have you met my wife Nina? And then she turns it round to me saying, of course we've met. So you can't win, because if you don't know if they have met them, if I do know the name of that person, I introduce them for the 3rd time.
It's the hardest thing about being a performer. It's not about being well known or whatever level of fame you have or how well known you are. It's because even when I hadn't done any TV, so people didn't know I was, I'd maybe done a gig for somebody at their club once, and they've sat, or somebody who's worked there has sat and they've watched you, so they know your name and your face very well. They've watched you solidly performing, and you've just had a brief chat with them, and that's the hard thing, isn't it? Because that's, as a performer, a lot of people know you and think that you will know them.
Yeah, no, I'm good with faces, actually. If I know a member of the audience I met at one of my shows 10 years ago, sometimes I will remember a face if I spoke to them for 10 minutes or something. But they expect you to know their names as well, don't they? And everything.
But I tell you, there's some people in this business who are amazing at it. Peter Kay.
Yeah.
Peter Kay, James Corden. They are very good. I've met James Corden 3 or 4 times, met Peter Kay only about 3 times. And Peter Kay, I'd met him when he was really on the way up, and I was doing a gig in Liverpool, and he was comparing it, and he was pretty well known. And I then didn't meet him for another 10 years, and I'm touring with Rob Brydon, and Rob goes, "Oh, Peter, this is Hal." And Peter Kay went, I was being, Rob Brydon's support, and Peter Kay went, "Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, we did that gig, Rawhide, Liverpool." Yeah, and I went, "Oh my god!"
Wow, that's nice.
And he was, and then I think and I did Royal Variety with him, where he hosted Royal Variety in like 2009. And every time he meets you, "Oh yeah, no, we did that. And James Corden's that. I'll tell you, it's a handy thing to have in this business, to have that recall of just going, "I know you."
Oh, yeah. Definitely. No, it's nice, isn't it?
Because people love it. I mean, God, it feels so special if Peter Kay remembers you. I bet he's like that with his, he meets a fan once. He'll meet you again and go, "Oh yeah, we met that time and did that." That's probably the only reason he's successful. Very untalented man, Peter Kay. That's a joke. Don't you dare edit this into some sort of Hal Cruttenden with Peter Kay. I love Peter Kay. I would love to work with him in the future.
It's the same with Lee Evans. Lee Evans was the same when I met him. I was working at the Palladium in '95, and I was an usher. I worked on stage door for 9 months. I was a young ventriloquist trying to get into the business, but Lee was doing 2 shows on a Sunday, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do the backstage stuff." And I knocked on his door out to make sure he had water, and we chatted. And he stopped to chat with me. He was nervous, and it was his first. I think he was. Man. He's incredible, and he was pacing up and down. But I've bumped into him a few times since. But I got to work with his dad, who was an incredible performer.
Really?
Yeah, Dave Evans on the cruise ships, and I met. So I got to know Lee's mum and dad so much, and learnt more about Lee and how funny Lee's brother is, Wayne. And. But he's not on the stage. He's just a naturally funny guy who would never do it on stage, But Lee would always remember me at like a stage door, or if I was, at a gig, and it is nice to be remembered, by
it's
anyone.
When people don't. It's lovely when people get very big like that, and they don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, they give you time. Yeah,
and they just remain the same to everybody. And I found that was what's so funny about Lee Evans, that off stage before a show, he's that bundle of nerves that you see on stage, going, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm a bit worried about you," and you just think, God, you're just really real. Actually,
this is genuine.
I think he is. He stopped doing it. I think supposedly, I'm sure he'll come back and still do.
Yeah.
He said he retired from stand-up, but I loved his energy. I loved his performances.
Definitely,
He was just brilliant.
Yeah, he's still writing him. He's got a writing partner, and he still writes with him now. I last saw him sadly at his dad's funeral last year. Dave passed, and but he's still there. He spoke to everybody that was there at the wake afterwards. And he was smiling, laughing, but he gave a beautiful eulogy. It was incredible because he used to follow Dave around the clubs and watch him, while he was growing up, and his dad inspired him. So it had that kind of that Dominic Holland and his son's kind of thing, where he
but
sort
also
of
that real respect for the craft of stand-up. Because I first met Lee Evans. I was doing a warm-up. He was doing warm-up in Cardiff in about 2005 for one of his big stadium tours,
right.
Big arena tours. And he's doing the Glee Club in Cardiff.
Okay.
And I was supporting him, and the first time I met him, and he wrote with a guy, but he has a guy who sits in the audience as he's doing warm-up gigs, going, "Yep, that gag works. That one does. Let's take that one out. That one works. That one doesn't."
That's clever.
Marking
Wow.
it, and I thought, but it's such a respect for your audience.
Yeah.
He's making sure that when that show, because obviously this is just a little club, but he's got good, but he's still working on stuff. But he's absolutely pinpointing which jokes are staying and which are leaving, and they're really ruthless about it. Really, I really love that. I love people that have respect for stand up, because I think we pretend it's this job that people walk on stage and are just funny, but actually I love the fact that it's really hard to get good at it.
It's a lifetime of experience going into that one night of doing a stand-up. It's not as easy as walking on and telling you, "I can't do what you do, Hal. I need my dummies," because I was one of those shy kids. I hide behind them, and I do a bit of stand-up now. I've come out.
I certainly couldn't do what you do.
Well, you move your lips so well, though, so you don't need to, And when you open your mouth, the right stuff comes out, and it's always funny. So you're into your rugby. Are you sporty, or you're not into football?
No. Do you know, I've actually gone off all sport in lockdown temporarily because I'm so bitter that I can't get along to see Saracens, who are they've sort of become my midlife crisis Saracens rugby club, because they're, I live in North London, and I went, it was about 15 years ago. I used to play as a kid rugby, and obviously I would have been a great player, but my knees played up, and that's the only thing that stopped me.
Yeah.
It's such a great excuse to have to have a problem when you're young at a sport and go, I had to retire. I had to retire at about 16. And it took me out. I was going to obviously, be England, British and Irish Lion, everything. No, but
wow.
Obviously I wasn't. No, I was not.
You wasn't.
No. I'm saying
You got me.
This is the great thing. This is the great thing about having an injury, that you can then claim you were going to be a great.
It's a nice story for a movie or for your book, isn't it? So it's
exactly.
Start with that.
I had a friend who, everybody's had trials for Chelsea and all that. I had a friend who was, I think he was Chelsea Academy or something, football. I was at drama school with him, and he said, I got an injury. I got my face smashed in really badly, and his nose in a football, having a ball, and somebody smashed him in the face, and his nose sort of got spread across his face, and he had it all reconstructed. And he went back, and the coach went, "You're not the same player. You're pulling out of challenges. It's just got in your head. That injury's got in your head." And so he could claim for the rest of his life, it was the psychological damage of that injury as a kid that ruined me. I would have been a great,
Yeah, wow.
But no, I've really lost it with football, because I had a friend who would occasionally take me to Spurs, and I did grow up occasionally going to QPR. But now rugby is so taken over that I sort of go, oh, Liverpool have won the league. Oh, that's nice, because they deserve that. It's been 30. But I just sort of, who's second? Who's doing? Oh, how Man City? Oh,
we don't know. Yeah.
I've never felt so disconnected from football. So are you a proper football?
I'm not at all. No, England I'll watch every 4 years. Is that when they have their games? Nothing. I'm not sporty at all. My family, my brother and my dad were into darts. And my brother was a boxer for a while. He did keep coming second, so we kind of talked him out of it, because second is not a good place.
That is the sport I think I admire the most.
Boxing, darts.
Oh, I just think even as a kid, I had a friend who had boxing gloves, and we'd have little boxing matches, and I instinctively could never get used to getting punched in the face. I would always turn. We'd have little boxing matches of about, we'd be 13 or something, 12 or 13, and I used to turn my back. And I was talking to a cab driver who'd been an ex sort of semi-pro boxer. His family were all boxers. And he said to me, "Yeah, that's a thing, Some people just can never get used to getting punched in the face." And to be a boxer, it's one of the things you have to really deal with. I went, "Yes."
I was one of the last to be chosen at the football team, in school, and I was standing there with, probably because they knew I was a puppeteer. So he'll be good in goalie. He's good with his hands. So, but I'd always, when the ball come towards the goal, I'd always shy away, turn away, and hide my face, and so it would always go in. So I ended up just being referee at them games.
Well, this is why we were made for showbiz. We were the people that went, "Not the face, not the face." So did you ever do boxing then?
Mine the hair. Not me, no.
No, but your brother did.
Oh yeah, my brother did boxing for a while, and he lost once because he was fighting a friend and he didn't want to hurt him. So I said, well, just go back to darts. He's good at darts. He wins that a lot now. He's good at holding a pint.
Obviously, in the old days, my dad boxed in like the 50s and was as a kid, he was boxing Surrey youth or whatever, and he retired because the first time he got knocked out, and he went, "Yeah, I'm not doing that again."
Just gave up.
He said he got to that level where he was fighting someone who was really good, and he kind of stuck a few on him, and this guy sort of saw red and just knocked him out completely. And my dad was going, "Nah, there's no way I'm going to do that."
Something's for you, isn't it? I mean, sometimes we may have a bad night on stage, but you always get back up again, don't you, and do it, because it's a passion, isn't it, for you?
Well, yeah, exactly. Do you know what? I was having this conversation just yesterday, I think, about that moment when people go, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never do stand-up." And I remember the first time I really died. It was like my 11th gig, and the people staring at me, and just that kind of hatred from the audience.
Yeah.
And I still remember going home that night and going, "That's going to be the worst thing that happens." And actually, you're still alive. You're still in bed that night, going to sleep. We call it death. Dying.
Yeah,
It's a dramatic term for it. It's just dealing with public humiliation, and I find it kind of exhilarating. And it very rarely happens the longer you go with stand-up. And when it does happen, if you have some event where it goes badly or people hate you, it's once a year, and I think you're part of you going, it really is never worth being put off doing what you love by that little risk. And the risk is part of the thrill, isn't it? The risk of danger, of failure and humiliation.
It is a thrill. But when you get that laughter and the applause, isn't it just a buzz? It's just the best thing, which we must be missing right at the moment. I've done a lot of online things.
Have you done a live gig with an audience looking at you?
I have now, yeah. I've done some outside gigs.
It's good, and it doesn't make you, because I've got something in Brighton on the beach tomorrow. There's some venue that they're setting up. I've got quite a few in August, but I've only had one outdoor gig. I did car park gigs and I've done online gigs. Oh, fab. But nothing beats. Car park gigs are hilarious. Have you ever done a car park gig?
No. Do they, instead of laughing, do they hoot? How's it go?
They hoot and they flash their lights if you're in an area where you go, but you're not hooting too much, it disturbs the surrounding people living there. But they're hilarious, because the thing is, you've got stuff. As soon as you walk out, you can judge people on their car. Or you can immediately be horrible to them. It's great. Oh my God, you're in your late 50s in an old Vauxhall. Things haven't been good. Or you can have a go at the flash guy in the sports car.
Oh, brilliant.
And it adds an extra dimension. Having said that, it is still weird, because people are getting piped into their car and they're sitting and laughing in their car. And apparently people go, it's really weird, because then lots of people can see people laughing and the comic can't hear because they're on stage.
Yeah.
It's a test.
Wow.
But I'm only just now getting back into the live face-to-face, looking at people doing outdoor things. And honestly, I've walked off stage feeling like crying with thanks, going, I've missed this so much.
I know,
Immediate interaction, looking people in the eyes, seeing them laugh.
It's emotional, isn't it, going back?
Oh, it's so emotional. And suddenly realising, because I've got one friend who I will remain nameless because they might change their mind, but he does a lot of writing, but he does a bit of stand-up, and he said to me that he's thinking of stopping stand-up because he's not got a lot of stuff anyway. He's doing a lot of writing, and he said, I don't really know if I like it that much. And from doing this outdoor gig where I was looking at people, I went, oh God, this really was what I was born to do. And that sounds really dramatic. This was, you have that thing
that moment,
kind of quite emotional, of going, I literally am doing what I totally wanted to do, and this is what I should always have done, and it just cheers me up. It makes me just go, God, that's great to remember that. However much you get fed up with your job, it's great to be doing something that you truly love.
Yeah, don't take it for granted. It's something that we love to do, and it's incredible. And you worry if an act is going down really bad on one of them comedy nights outside, you'll know, because they'll be getting a pipe or a hose out of their boot, and they'll be shutting the windows and.
No, don't do that.
How bad is this? Oh.
I'm writing that down.
No, you can have that. It's quite dark. You can have that at your next outside gig. Is it Cars tomorrow? Is it, or just Beat?
No, I don't think I've got any more car ones. They're all live ones on Zoom. I think there's one Zoom one, but tomorrow is just a live people outdoors at a venue that's in Brighton. So it's top couple of shows.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Angela Barnes. Angela Barnes from does a lot of Mock the Weeks and Radio.
Yeah, I know her name. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very good. So we're doing a thing there. So looking forward to that. And I've got some things, really nice venues in the summer, like Hatfield House.
Nice.
Comedy Store are putting on a show there. And
brilliant.
I'm doing something in Bognor Regis that I can't remember where that's at. But anyway, so I'm around and about.
Oh, brilliant. Cal, just before we go, what is your defining moment? Now, there's some people would get they do Edinburgh, then they go up to the Royal Variety Show, and that would be their moment. Or they get Night at the Apollo, that would be the moment. Yeah. There they go, this is it. And for you, what was it?
Oh, God. Do you know what? Well, can I have two or three?
Yes, you can. Top three. Your top three moments.
Top three moments. Well, okay, going in reverse order. No, I would say doing a live at the Apollo when you're standing behind that big screen going up. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're standing there, and the smoke's piling in, and it's such a frightening thing to do that, to go, oh my God, and then you're walking through smoke and thinking, am I going to go off the end of the stage before this smoke ends, before I see it?
Or is Matthew Kelly going to be there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you walk through through the smoke, the screen goes up. So it's a real nerves thing, but also that thing of just remaining calm and going, when you do it live at the Apollo, this is going to be repeated forever.
Yeah.
So make it good. so that pressure. I would say, do you know what? Honestly, number 2 is that second is doing a live gig after being stopped for so long and not being able to do a gig to an audience. That was really, really special.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So that's all my first gig ever, where I suddenly went, that's great. But my number 1 was, you've done a Royal Variety. You've done several of you.
No.
Royal Variety, I've only done it a couple of times, but in 2009, I was really not known, and I did my first Royal Variety, and I got it through them. I'd said to my agent, come and get them to see me, because I'm doing these theatre shows with Rob Brydon, and I'm really having a great time, and I think they'd really like me, being that sort of unknown on Royal Variety. Yeah. And they came to see me, and I got this Royal Variety, and I'm in Blackpool doing the Blackpool, what's it called? Winter Gardens.
Winter Gardens, yeah.
They did one with the Queen and Prince Philip. It was one of the last, I think they did 2011 as well, but Queen and Prince Philip didn't go to them that often. So I'm a real unknown, about to walk out on stage to an audience that doesn't know me. And Royal Variety is a massive risk for stand-ups, because I've seen them die. Someone's died on both the ones I've done. And I'm following Catherine Jenkins, being very operatic things, and I'm thinking, this could go hilariously. And I'm at the side of the stage, and they're doing last checks, and they're brushing down my suit, and they're checking makeup, and I just started getting the giggles, going, this is hilarious. The danger and the fear was so massive to go on and Royal Variety, if you die, you still have to meet them afterwards. It's just Prince Philip. Prince Philip doesn't go to them anymore, but Prince Philip would tell you probably. Prince Philip's just like he said to me. Luckily I had one of the great gig of my life.
I remember seeing it. It's brilliant.
I did the thing of the first minute where the audience is like, who is this guy? Oh, and they're all uncertain. And I had a really good gig, but that getting the giggles before I went on, going, can't believe I've got this. That was the thrill of my life. Loved it.
Wow, brilliant.
And never will forget it. That'll be one of the things you treasure and think of. Going, it was worth it all to go from doing little clubs to following Catherine Jenkins at the Royal Variety when no one knows who you are. In 2009, it was a dream.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the Queen was so nice. It turned me into such a royalist. I love the Queen.
She's lovely, isn't she? Yeah.
The Queen is one of my favourite all-time people I've ever met, because she is, and I'm not a natural royalist. I've always been an edgy, lefty Republican type. Did Royal Variety, love the monarchy, never get rid of them. There's some bad eggs, but God, I love the Queen.
It's nice to be able to say that you did meet the Queen at a royal, because now it's sometimes, it might be like Prince, somebody else might turn up, and you want it to be the Queen.
I'm trying not to say Prince Andrew.
Do you know what? There was the first name that came into my head. I was just like, why would he be there?
We all got a dodgy uncle. You've got to keep away from the kids. I found them. I've not met the young ones. I've met Prince Charles and Camilla. I've met the Queen and Prince Philip. Yeah. And they are. There's everybody. The Queen knows that everybody who's meeting her is going, you're shaking the hand that shook the hand of Churchill and Kennedy. She's just been there throughout history, and also in this age where people are all about self-promotion. This is a woman who doesn't use her potential power, I believe, she never uses it for her own agenda. She does have potential power, I think, the Queen, and I think the fact that she does. She's very, very, she's all about keeping things, equal, and trying to represent everybody and not be partisan and not put her own opinion across.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about sort of that thing of service, of being in a position of power, but actually you can't use that power, because the whole reason is you're a uniting force for everybody to go. We have the Crown as we have the Queen as head of state, and yet, America has Trump as head of state. Other countries have a president. The fact we have the monarchy to unite around who we see as non-political, I think she's brilliant. Because if I'd been her, I'd have got stuck in and said stuff.
I know, yeah.
She's. And I know it's a life of luxury, but I'm now becoming a party political broadcaster for the Queen. But I adore that woman.
Yeah, I do. I think she's incredible. She does a bit of stand-up on Christmas Day once a year, and that or sit down. So she's brilliant. We respect her, don't we?
We really do. during this lockdown, she did that perfectly positioned speech, didn't she? Which was, when you went.
It was good timing.
You've done this right. You've done it, and she, for a woman of her age, she's got some very subtle performing skills. She's got a way of being anyway, I think she's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, she's
trying to get back on roll. Steve, if you could promote this, I will be retweeting and pointing people to this, and me saying how much I love the Queen as a radical sort of lefty type, annoying liberal comic. I'm that, but I love the Queen.
I'm sure she loved what you did, actually, and she's a great actress as well. What she done in The Crown, she's brilliant in that. So
she was brilliant in that. She's done very well.
Now, before we go, Hal, my wife, she's got a new face for you. Now, we were watching Straight Outta Cruttenden, and she said, "Oh, he reminds me of one of the Whose Line Is It Anyway?" So I had to go through some of them performers. Like Tony Slattery? No. Clive Anderson? No. Josie Lawrence? No. And she said, "You remind her of John Sessions." So there's
I have had that occasionally.
Have you?
That's unflattering. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, good. That's good then.
I thought she was. Look, I can say this because I know him. I thought she was going to say Mike McShane, who's a very big man when he did Whose Lines Anyway. He's lost a lot of weight because I did a play with him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he?
But he was very fat when he did. He's like,
no, he didn't.
Bracing myself as you spoke to go. She's going to say Mike McShane. I'm going to hit the wall.
We wouldn't have gone there. She did mention British comedian, so she didn't go there. But Sessions.
John Sessions, I don't mind that. I like that. Very talented man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she's very good at knowledge. Hal, I'm a big fan of yours. I love what you do, and I can't wait to see you on the Raw Variety Show. And can't wait to see your sitcom and Netflix special and more quiz shows.
Good things have to happen, but hopefully,
definitely.
Yes, to my sitcom. It's going to be a work of art, I've decided.
Yeah, I think
I'm picking it up, and it's only had 11 pages of script so far written.
Wow.
So that's all I've got.
Okay, well, that's amazing. It's a great start, but I think you're just getting started, Hal. And good luck with it all, mate. Love to your family.
Good luck to you as well. I love your stuff. Love what you do.
Thank you, mate. Stay well.
Take care.
All right, buddy.
Cheers,
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Eyes and teeth.
I couldn't have had a better hour chatting to Hal, and later that day, another hour watching a masterclass of comedy with Eddie Izzard. And since this was recorded, we've sadly lost John Sessions, a great comedy acting talent. But thank you, Hal. I loved editing this and hearing it all over again. To find out where you can enjoy Hal on tour and download or purchase his DVDs, check out his website at www.halcruttenden.com or on Twitter at Hal Cruttenden. Today's comedy quote comes from Eddie Izzard. You've got to believe you can be a stand-up before you can be a stand-up. You have to believe you can act before you can act. You have to believe you can be an astronaut before you can be an astronaut. You've got to believe. If you've enjoyed Eyes and Teeth or are enjoying the Christmas special Eyes and Tinsel, feel free to share, download and review. And I promise there are much more enjoyable hours to come, archiving the best in the world of comedy and variety. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Larissa, Lola and Nina Hewlett, and special guest vocals by Rich T. Theme music and jingles produced and performed by the one and only Kevin Dean. Tune in next time when I reveal my 5th surprise on 12 Days of Podcasts.
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!